A lot of people think that you should prep yourself, right? Like you should rehearse putting on that strap on.
Let's get one thing straight, yeah? Everybody has a relationship to sex.
So here at Erupt, we decided to create a safe space, a brave space, if you will, where sex is celebrated, every kink is sacred, and nothing is off limits.
Welcome to Nocturnal Eruptions.
I'm Sid, that's Aria. So, my baby, answer the question, did you have sex this weekend?
I did. A Halloween moment, if you will.
This is something I would like to talk about as we dive in.
Okay.
Halloween is a sexual holiday, okay? I understand that it's not primarily. I understand that if you have children, it's about candy. It's about neighborhood. It's about neighborhood.
Yeah.
But I do think that, like, for a certain period of time, it is about sex. For a certain age bracket, it is about sex. And I think we're trying to, like, degender and desexualize this holiday, but there's almost nobody I know who doesn't get laid on over Halloween weekend.
Yeah, I also feel like it's just the time. It's the energy. There's sort of like a spooky energy, but there's also like a run amok energy.
Yes,
which
that's
turns me on.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So was this a Halloween date?
It was not a date, no.
Okay.
It was a party
Okay.
that then led to like a kitchen makeout that then led to.
Honestly, nothing like it.
Well, it was also the Halloween of it all. Like there were like fake knives hanging from the ceiling. There was blood everywhere. Like it was in its own way very hot.
Okay.
If you're into that sort of thing.
Was this person in costume?
He was, yeah.
Was the costume a contributing factor to the reason that you ended up having sex with this person?
No, it was not.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. I don't know. I'm not one for costumes as turning on point.
And so what?
Because it's all going to come off. You know? I'm just sort of like, I just want to get you out of the costume.
That depends on who you are. I am curious to know what led to the sex. If you didn't go into this party going, I'm meeting this person here, this was somebody you met there.
No, I went into the party
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, no, I went into the party knowing that that person and I could have sex. I didn't go in there feeling super confident. I went in there being like, you know, it was a situation in which sometimes when we see each other, we have sex. Sometimes we don't.
Okay, so you've had sex before.
We have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was it?
It was great. It was great. I spent the night.
Sex
again the next day.
Yeah.
No, which is what you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's waking up on Halloween, like the day after Halloween, in like the mess of a done Halloween party is a nightmare. Like suddenly you're like walking into a room and there's like limbs everywhere and like there's, like I said, knives hanging from the ceiling, like red
knives hanging
liquid.
from the ceiling.
But it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, here's the thing though. Like I remember in college and a little bit after, if I didn't have sex over Halloween weekend, I did not have a successful Halloween.
Like, I would have still had a really successful night if this hadn't happened. I would have felt totally okay about it.
Okay, but are you happy? But you're happy it happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Any highlights that you'd like to share with the peanut gallery?
You know, I'll do this. You know what I've learned? I think is that maybe I'm more into foot stuff than I thought I was.
I am gagged.
I just didn't think I was into it. But maybe I'm into it.
Maybe.
But
foot stuff and what? Like passive foot stuff? Or active foot stuff?
I need you to be more descriptive about what you mean when you say passive foot stuff.
I feel like there's no...
For me, there's no passive foot stuff. If you're touching my foot, it's active.
But if you're the receiver, it's passive.
I'm passive.
That's sex positivity 101. If you're... Okay, so passive foot stuff. You're not out here sucking toes.
No.
Okay.
No. Sorry.
But you are, but we've learned that you have nerve endings and receptors in
my feet.
Okay.
That maybe I'm more into than I thought it was.
Is it something you're going to ask for in the future?
I don't think so, but I think if some person's doing that to me, I won't be as averted to saying yes to it.
Is this person somebody that you're going to continue to like occasionally have sex with?
I would like to actually maybe leave occasional and try to find more, but that's TBD.
Okay. Now I want to. It's not really a pivot because I think something that we like to talk about, y'all, in terms of casual sex is STIs. Aria has some really shocking facts for me that he has not shared with me that I'm very excited about because I think as a culture, I think we grew up in the 90s. We grew up in the 90s, and there was like all of this sex positivity going around to an extent. And then there was like another side of it that was like uber conservative, like abstain, don't have sex until you're married, la, 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 la. But I do think that normalizing sexual health became something that I grew up with. Like the movement to make it go, like to see billboards saying like go get tested.
Yeah, it's still wild. I mean, every time I see them, I'm like, wow. And I'm a gay man
too.
who like has been raised in the idea that like you never know who could, for lack of a better word, infect you.
I mean, I have friends who get tested every 3 months no matter what.
Well, I get tested every 3 months for PrEP. For those who don't know,
yes,
PrEP
give us the lowdown.
An antiviral drug that you take to prevent contracting HIV. And if you have HIV, PrEP also helps you become undetectable, so you cannot pass the disease on to someone else.
And no matter your sexual preferences, PrEP is a good idea.
Yeah, you get tested every 3 months, and that's that on that. But yeah, so this story comes about because I recently had an STD scare. I still refer to them as STDs. I don't know if you refer to them as STIs.
Was STIs meant to like make it less, like more sexy and less threatening?
Because infections are
It's not a disease, it's an infection.
I don't know. Disease, infection, all of it. I don't love it. But I recently had a scare because I was having fun with this guy. We went on a few dates. We went on a few very good dates.
So this wasn't necessarily casual sex. This was like, let's see what happens.
It started as casual sex, as it often does, and then became like, oh, you're not a terrible person. We should go on dates.
You were going to say a monster.
Monster. Just like the Halloween theme. And then, we went on a few dates. The sex was good. Great. Really enjoyed it. He was smart. He was handsome. I really had a nice time hanging out with him. And then like a week later, I texted him being like, hey, like, let's go on another date. He was like, I'm down. P.S. This, you should know I have gonorrhea. And this is why I want to talk about this. Because my initial reaction was, well, we're done. How dare you, like, not tell me the moment you found out? And also, like, now I'm turned off by you. And then we sort of had this weird interaction via text where he was like, isn't it funny that we used to think like STDs would like ruin our lives? And I'm like, do I still think STDs are going to ruin my life?
Okay. This is the thing though. This is my greatest issue with this, is that in a world where we are now, again, I'm going to use this phrase, we are now becoming more sex positive. We are now understanding that sexual health is paramount. Also, that sexual health isn't just about you. It's about all of your potential partners, right? Where we understand that we're sort of undertaking that responsibility. Why was that so casual? Why was that so casually brought up?
I mean, I think that for him it was casual. And I think that it's worth bringing up some of these stats now because it does seem like it's maybe a casual reality for a lot of people. According to the CDC, they're, the real source of all info. The CDC estimates there are approximately 25 million STD infections each year. Almost half of them amongst people the ages of 15 to 24. Full disclaimer, I am not between the age of 15 and 24. But that more or less means that 1 in every 5 adults.
But does this mean that we're all just like raw dogging it still? Is that what this means?
Yeah, I think we are. I think a lot of us are.
Okay. I mean, no, do your thing. Do your thing. I'm not judging you. I am judging you. Here's the thing. The reason not you specifically, proverbially you, not you. I just think that how? Like, unless I literally have your panel in front of me, I'm sorry, it's a wrap. Literally, no pun intended, but it is a wrap. If I do not know that you are a clean, and that's the hard part.
But you ask.
People lie.
Oof. But like, yeah, I mean, people do lie. They do. So
here's my question for you. What contributed to you saying, and now I will no longer be seeing you? I think I still really am fearful. The face that you are making in this moment. I have like a stigma around STDs. I like have a fear of having one. I don't want one. And like, I don't think of that person as like dirty or anything like that. But I'm just sort of like, this is a turnoff. I'm now like not interested in being with you. Okay. But I think that also is a product of the fact that like, he only told me because I asked him to go on another date. Right. So this which bears the question of aftercare, which bears the question of really aftercare for y'all that don't know is a newer term that we're sort of using to describe what happens after you have sex. It's not just like, you put a thing in a hole, you rub your holes together and then you leave. It's about people, even if you're having casual sex. Like, it doesn't matter. I think aftercare people associate with relationships and with like a level of intimacy that you only have during making love. But I disagree. I think the idea that we can take care of each other if we're all going to have sex or not.
I just feel like this is you leading up to like asking if this man wanted to come with me to get the test.
Well, you know me, so yes.
So
like, what was his reaction to you saying, I'm going to go get tested? He was like, oh yeah.
No. I mean, his thing was, you should go get tested. And I was like, well, yeah, obviously you should go get tested. I have like running to my doctor.
I've been exposed.
At my doctor's office already.
Right. But you would have never included him in that process.
Not a once.
Why?
I would almost why back to you. I mean, this man and I went on 3 dates.
Sure.
He wasn't very forthright about
the
having
situation.
This disease.
Well, see, that would make me go, and you're coming with me.
But
Only
that
because
seems out of spite, though.
For me, not out of spite, but just out of like, hey, if you're the one who has it, right? If you're the one who has it, you are all you. I would like for you to take not control, your responsibility for your body. I had an HPV scare, right? And I thinking that I didn't get it from the partner, thinking that I possibly had it before and didn't know, and then had like a huge moment and called him and was like, hey. He offered to come with me, and I said, don't worry about it. But he was so kind and generous and considerate in the way that he dealt with it. He was like, don't worry, like, we'll figure it out. If you do have it, let me know. I'll go get tested as well. I'll probably go get tested anyway. And I said, like, we both had this exchange of like, do you want me to come with you? Do you want me to be, how much do you want me to be a part of it? As opposed to, you should probably go deal with that.
Right,
like,
but what, this man's supposed to come and like sit in the doctor's office with me while he's like, where do you think you have gonorrhea?
I don't know. Sometimes STD or STI tests are scary.
I mean, it's inherently not my favorite thing.
Right.
I mean, particularly.
Again, I just think that like, I once dated a guy with herpes. Okay. And that was like a huge moment for us. He told me he had herpes, and I was like, okay. He was so scared. He thought it was going to be a deal breaker. I really liked him. And I was like, this is not a deal breaker for me. I'm aware that he was on medication. He already had his moment. He was clear most of the time. We pretty much exclusively had sex with a condom. Obviously, yeah. There was just so much like openness there that I didn't feel like I had to worry about not being taken care of in that situation. And I think that's because that person took responsibility for their body as well as mine. And
sure.
Maybe it's because we were possibly going to date, but like,
but like I've dated guys who were positive for HIV before.
Right.
This is not about sort of like, oh my God, you have a disease, hence for them not into you.
No, it's the way they handle it. Right, 100%.
But at the same time, I don't particularly like crave the aftercare.
But also like how could he have handled it differently that would make you go, oh great, let's keep dating? I just would have,
at the moment that I found, if it was me, and I found out that I had gonorrhea or anything, I would immediately text every person that I've had sex with recently, like, by the way.
When do you think he found out?
I don't know.
Okay.
But before I texted him, because he knew already. It's not like the texts emerged simultaneously.
Right.
Like, it's not like his physician called him just as I was like, hey, let's go on another date.
No, right. And I think that's the shady part. Okay, so that I respect that.
But I wonder if there's like a different standard of like how relationships work, even if it's casual dating from heterosexual people to gay people. In that like there is sort of an expectation that like of chivalry, if you will, when it comes to like showing up for women in a way that doesn't exist in
but you are also so resistant to this idea that you would ever need to be showed up for or considered in that way.
Maybe that's a product of my experience.
I think that's so interesting because I think give me more stats on STDs because this is worrying to me. If it's 1 in 5 people, then yes, I think we do need to build a culture. So
gay and bisexual men account for nearly half of all 2019 primary and secondary syphilis cases.
Syphilis, the Victorian disease.
Jesus.
It's not Victorian, it's something else. It's old.
And it's on the rise. STD cases are on the rise. There's a 30% increase from 2015 to 2019 in terms of STD cases, particularly in the realms of chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. 1.6 million people a year get gonorrhea.
Give that stat to your camera.
1.6 million people a year get gonorrhea.
Well, that's what it is.
But I don't know if there's like maybe a cultural difference between heterosexual and homosexual situations. But I do think that like given the culture that homosexual people, myself included, inhabit, and this isn't the entire community, and I don't in any way mean to insinuate that I'm speaking for the entire community.
Sure.
But like, I've had sex in a dark room before.
Right.
Like, not everybody's had that experience. Not everybody wants that experience. But like, sex it's not as intrinsically tied to emotional connection a lot of the time. And I think in that world of mental thoughts around sex, it then sort of like allows me to not need aftercare from my partner. I definitely needed support from my friends. When I found that out, I called my best friend. I was like, so this is what's happening. I need your assistance because I have to go now to my doctor and be like, hey, I have gonorrhea. And then he has to ask me where I have gonorrhea. And I have to like talk him through this entire scenario. And that is not even triggering, but just not fun.
I know, and it's funny. Humiliating comes to mind, and then I go to like dehumanizing, but it's not, because it's like it's so human.
And also, like, I'm sorry that I'm having sex.
It's like rehumanizing. You're like remembering that you're not just like a ball of sexual energy. That you're just like you're a meat bag.
I will say, my doctor, there was no judgment. It was just, he also was just sort of like, cool, where so we can do what we need to do, and so we can get it done. And you know, I think that the experience itself wasn't bad, or I don't have gonorrhea. It wasn't negative. The experience, I mean. And so it's all well that ends negative. Well. But at the same time, I do think there was a sort of moment of like, oh, right. Like, I don't think about STDs as often as maybe I should for someone who really likes having sex and really enjoys sex and like isn't partnered and enjoys sort of like being out there.
Yeah.
And so I think it was, for lack of a better word, maybe a wake-up call.
Okay, I have a question for you. Yeah. It's a very personal question.
Go for it.
Are you raw dogging it a lot?
A lot.
This is my question for you.
I am on PrEP, but there should be more. And I do ask every time I do ask. Right. And I do like always ask. They answer, and then I ask again.
Okay.
Like there's an inherent second time.
Okay.
Which I'm like, you're not infected with anything right now.
I mean,
from COVID to gonorrhea, you are okay right now?
I wonder what's going to happen. I'm going to say this. I wonder what's going to happen in a post-pandemic world sexually, where we are all raging.
I mean, we're here already. I mean, I think the gay community, at least, it feels like I went to a party recently that was like just as it was before, except everybody was vaccinated and gave proof of a negative COVID test.
But I also think, like, I wonder if, I mean, I don't know, and we'll get into this on another episode, like the idea of a sex party or an orgy. Like, I wonder if everybody's it's like going to be drop your vaccinations and also your STI panels at the door. Like, I think there is something super conscientious about that shit.
There is. There's also, I think, there's a lot of murky ground there for positive people when it comes to HIV that like needs to be sussed out.
Sure.
But yeah, I think there is I think at least I became intrinsically aware of the stigma that I still carry around STDs.
Okay.
I think that this experience taught me that like maybe it's inevitable that like inherently if you're having sex with a lot of people and even if you're safe every time, if 1 in every 5 adult Americans is catching an STI every year, statistically speaking.
I think we need to also, this is a conversation for the ages. I think we need to make condoms differently. I think I don't want to gender this problem, but I think it's interesting that gay men and bisexual men are at the helm of this, right? And I do think that part of that, I have to say, as a cis het woman, every man I know, you use the word condom, and it doesn't matter. I won't even say every man, every person with a penis that I know is like, please don't put that on me. I just like hate it. I hate it so much. And I'm like, I know, but here we are.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel don't put it on me. It's sort of like, is that what you want to do? Cool, let's do it.
Is that
what you want to do? It's not so much judgment, it's just like, that's what you want? Great, this is the worst part.
But it's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable. It apparently, I don't know, but apparently it just isn't
it's not great.
Good.
It's not great.
So I wonder if, similarly to how like we all agree the dental dams suck. And so obviously, folks who want to be on birth control, there's like 45 different options. And I'm curious to know, and birth control obviously doesn't protect against STIs, but I'm curious to know like what else we can come up with. The condom is a very old, like ancient Egypt old experience. So I'm curious.
It feels
to know.
like an ancient Egypt.
No, it is. There's
really
like a I forget which king. There's a pharaoh who was like buried with his like sheepskin condoms.
Oh, he could probably get it.
He could probably get it. We're equal opportunity here.
Pharaohs to the front of the line.
I do, yeah. I do think, and I really think that like, in order for us to take safe sex seriously, or maybe is it about having more safer sex, or is it about destigmatizing STIs and just like dealing with the fact that some of us we will all get them, and some of us, I don't know, some of us will get them, and that's it.
I mean, I think there's a responsibility that you carry as a sexually active person to get tested regularly.
Yeah.
And I think that might actually be part of the problem, is that like people don't get tested as regularly as they should.
And they don't know.
And so they don't know. And so when I ask them the second time, are you clean? Mm-hmm. And they say yes, they believe they are. Because they haven't gotten tested.
Right, they think so. I know, I had a friend.
Like every 3 months is long.
True.
That is a long time between STD panels.
Between escapades.
The many escapades over the course of 3 months. It feels like a long time to sort of run amok. And
not all of us are as privileged to be as active as you are.
But also, shouldn't you have a test after every new partner? Theoretically.
Wow. Probably.
I don't. I'll be honest about that. I don't. I usually
also,
try to do
I don't
it.
know. Again, I don't want to gender this, but I don't know. I don't know if this is like a wholly female experience, but like women get asked why a lot. Like your doctor will go, why do you want that?
Yeah, no, my doctor will often ask me why I want to get a panel.
Like my friend who goes every 3 months, she was talking about it. She like did a whole Instagram moment about it. She was like, why? Why am I consistently being asked? Yeah. Like I'm here just to get one. I just want to get one. Why can't it just be normal like a blood panel?
Right, but the answer is ultimately just I had sex, I want to get tested, and then that's the end of it, right? I mean,
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading a little too much into that. But again, and now switching a little bit of gears.
Well, I want to ask you.
Okay.
We've been talking now for 20 minutes, and we haven't gotten to ask you. Yeah, about me. Did you have sex this weekend?
No.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm sorry. I did not have sex this weekend. I did engage in some light texting, but not sexting, because I think we've been texting for long enough, not me and this person, but us. Culturally, we've been texting long enough that like we're getting creative, right? It's not just like, I just want to lay you down. I think it's way more sensual, I would say now. And maybe that speaks to the caliber of the connection that I have with this person. Like it wasn't super dirty, nasty. It was. I did just make a ridiculous hand gesture.
That was wild.
It wasn't super dirty, nasty. It was like hotter than that.
It turned you on
very much.
Yeah.
And I did that, and that was lovely. I am in a dry season right now.
Okay.
And I'm kind of happy about it. I'm not like. I have had my seasons of abundance, and currently I'm not. I love sex, but I'm not like out here craving.
But it's not celibacy.
Newness anymore. It's not celibacy, and I've done that too. Yeah. I took 2.5 years off of doing anything with anyone, and that was very useful. We'll talk about that.
Productive.
We'll talk about that. It was a very, very useful. Informative time for me, but always having sex with myself. Always. Everybody, you should be masturbating. If you're not, let's talk about it. But here's what I have gone down a rabbit hole about. No, I didn't have sex, but I did fall down the rabbit hole of pegging. Ladies and theys. I had a very interesting idea of what pegging was, and then I did my research. So pegging.
Wait, no. I want to hear what your interesting idea was first. What did you think it was?
I really thought that pegging wasn't specific to heterosexual couples or cisgender couples specifically. I thought that pegging was just about ass play with a toy, no matter who.
Okay.
That's not true. Pegging is defined as women fucking men. Like pegging is about cishet couples changing up gender roles, having a moment, having like a very formalized moment. It's not just like, ooh, she put a finger in my butt. It's like, it's way more, I would say ceremonious. You know, we're talking strap-ons, we're talking harnesses and dildos, we're talking lube, we're talking prostate gland stimulation. Like, it's a whole experience. And I will pull up a very quick fact here. Another misconception about pegging is that it's just anal sex. Like, it's all the way. It's like, put this 8-inch dildo in my butt. That's not true. Only about 72%. Only about, lol. Overall, about 72% of women have tried going all the way, and about 16.7% have tried pegging. So, meaning that pegging is like, again, is play.
Okay.
It's about the like introduction of not just a finger, not just a mouth, but a toy in a man's ass. And I'm really proud of the couples that, like, I don't know, as somebody who has no interest in pegging at all. Like, I don't have an interest in wearing a strap-on. I know it can be really pleasurable for the wearer as well as the person experiencing it. I just have never.
Oh, I really do think you should try it, though. Only because from my experience of topping, it's
but like
incredible.
As a power bottom, it sort of like goes against everything I stand for as a power bottom. But at the same time, I respect and am like I said, like super proud of all of the couples that have done this, because I do think it takes a very real caliber of conversation because we can be very closed-minded about our crinkle stars. That would be our buttholes.
I will say, I'll jump in for a second only because I have a handful of female friends who are very into pegging.
Okay. Define very into.
Love it. Like, if their partner isn't into it, it's over.
Wow. Okay.
Because I should rephrase. Not a few. I have one who feels that extremely sort of like, if they're not into it, they have something they need to figure out.
Right. That's their kink.
So it is her kink. Yes. And I think for her, when I talk to her about it, it's about power. And that's why I was like, you should try it, only because there is such an incredible feeling of not overpowering someone. I don't mean to insinuate that, but for someone to submit to you.
So that's the other part of pegging that I find delicious, is that those folks exploring BDSM, pegging is like a really good intro into not just psychologically switching up roles and you know, playing with dominance and submission. It's like, okay, pegging is like the intro into the rest of the BDSM world for a lot of heterosexual couples. And one of the reasons we were talking about this, one of the reasons why pegging is specific to cisgender couples and heterosexual couples specifically, is because, you know, other than that, it's just like playing around with a dildo. Other than that, it's just using a strap-on. Like, if two women are strapping on, that's what that is. It's not pegging.
It's not.
And what I do, I want to hammer home, no pun intended again. Just going to be so many innuendos here. You're welcome. I would say I am not interested in dominance because I am as a result of, this is just personal to me, because I am such a dominant person in life. I mean, I used to describe myself as a lazy lover. Like, I like to lie down and just let like, please don't ask me to do a whole bunch of acrobatics. I'll be very upset.
If you want acrobatics, you can call me, okay?
Exactly, 100%. I would like to lie down and enjoy. I just want to lie down and open up and enjoy. That's it. And I enjoy when you enjoy, so I will do my job. Right. I used to date this guy who would like, oh my God. I used to date this guy who would literally have me in the, it was like power vinyasa flow situation. And I just was like, I go to yoga. That's not what this is for me. And he'd be like, can you just like squat and then put your hands here? And then I was just like, sir, like, I didn't know I had to lift in order to have sex with you. And as a result, I look at pegging and I go, wow, that's cool, but I have literally no interest.
Well, let's pull back a bit.
I will eat your ass, but I don't feel like putting a dildo in it. If you don't eat ass, you should.
We should talk about that. Let's talk about ass. Let's talk about ass play in general. Because I think that pegging is a systemic result of the culture shifting.
Pegging is rebellion.
Right. So where are we standing in the hetero space? And of course, you don't speak for everyone, but in your experience and in your conversations, because in my conversations, ass play is still not it hasn't come to the masses of the straights.
No.
The friends that I know who are in that space, who are playing in that world, swear by it, frankly. That it's like a necessary ingredient in having a really good time.
And I would say, I don't know, I just think if you're going to... this is a complete personal belief, obviously, but like I just think if you're going to have sex, no matter your preference, no matter your gender expression or identity, like if you're going to have sex, no hole should be off limits. That's just how I feel, unless
it's off limits,
right? And I think that part of, unfortunately, I think not knowing your body, I think gender roles, I think homophobia, I think all of it has played into the cishet man being like, no, my butt is not for sex. That's not, it's just for poop. Like I do feel it for those men because I think
they were taught that.
The Lord, the L-O-R-D-T, the Lord put nerves there. The Lord put glands there and experiences there that are extraordinarily pleasurable, and you want to avoid them because somebody told you that, quote unquote, that's gay. Like that's.
But I really do want to circle back to the idea of like, for a lot of men, I think, and for myself, when I was starting to have sex with other men and with other people that I know, submitting is hard. And I will say,
you think it's about submission.
And also I will say that like anal sex is hard. Like it's not as easy.
No, it takes practice.
As vaginal sex. It takes work. Like
vaginal sex is not easy.
No, but by comparison.
Yeah.
No, sex shouldn't be
easy.
So I think there are many things at play, but I do think submission, and I think men submitting in that way is very vulnerable. And I think the idea of vulnerability being introduced into the sexual space is new for a lot of people.
I mean, I do think that's why things like pogging, I think that's why pegging does deserve aftercare.
I mean, it deserves forecare, during care, after care.
Well, that's the other thing that I was reading. A lot of people think that you should prep yourself, right? Like you should rehearse putting on that strap on. You should like talk about like the acts of your sex act. Like the act 1 is foreplay. Act 2 is, you get into it a little bit. You do some missionary, you do some doggy, you whatever, and then act 3 is pegging, and like you need a costume change. You need a warm up. Don't do like. This is Team Lube. This show, we are pro lube. We are pro ho. If you're not lubing, we did have a conversation in the green room. I do not understand why folks are making flavored lube. Please stop. If you hear me and you're a manufacturer of lubricant, please stop making things like toffee buttercream lube. It's disgusting.
That example's not
now, or like lemon balm lube. Stop it. Just light a candle and it'll achieve the same effect. I do think that. Like you have to then be more communicative about the movements of your sexual act. And I think that's...
I mean, this sounds fun. I also love the dress rehearsal element.
I do love the dress. Okay, this is tech, everyone.
It's tech. Lights.
No, true.
We're doing
like
lights.
5 to places. I think that I agree with you that there's a submission factor. But again, I also think that a lot of straight men have a hard time taking that. You had a really great conversation recently about masculinity, right?
Sure.
And I do think a lot of cishet men have a really, really hard time divesting themselves from from the patriarchal terrorist in their head.
Right, but let me flip this. Does it also go the same way for women who also maybe struggle with suddenly having that power too? Like, I don't mean to like just point at the men and be like,
no.
You're the barrier to entry.
I don't think they're the barrier.
Because I imagine that, like, for you, it would be hard. It'd be challenging.
Well, I just don't want to.
Right.
Right.
But I imagine like for many women, it might be challenging, right?
Yeah.
To like sort of suddenly inhabit that space, to be not just dominant, but like to be in fully having someone in your literal hands and you are doing something to them. That is something that's maybe very new for a lot of women that I imagine will be challenging. I at least say that from like my perspectives of like the first few times I had sex, like this is new. This is a whole level of responsibility that I was not considering previously.
On behalf of all power bottoms, I just want to say I don't know if it's the same level of fear. I want to say the reason I say that is because I think there is so much especially for cishet women, built up around your first sexual experience that depending on who you are, where you're from, how you're raised, etc., I don't think it's actually that far out of our wheelhouses. I think this is why a lot of women are actually stoked about pegging, because it feels like finally I get to have power in this situation as well. And I think exactly your face. I don't necessarily think it's like it's the same. I don't think women. I can't speak for all cishet women, but I really don't think that a lot of us enjoy submission. I think it just happens to be what we were like, biologically blessed with at birth or not blessed
and
with.
Also porn.
And also porn, and also
like what we were shown, what we were taught, the way that we even
movies,
think about it. Oh
literally,
yeah,
everything. But I think that a lot of us accept that role and go, all right, cool. Let me find a way to be powerful inside of this. I know a lot of women who like, and we'll talk. Well, I'm sure we'll get into this. Who use sex or who use like head as like punishment reward. Who are like, you don't get head unless I get head. Who are like, you know what? We're fighting and you pissed me off earlier. You made a shitty comment. Nobody's sucking your dick. But I do think that like, I don't think it's far for us. I think it excites a lot of us because finally that's a position where we don't have to be vulnerable. I think a lot more women, particularly cishet women feel, and I would say bisexual women, the ones that I know have a different time with this because
sure
of the variance of experience.
Yeah.
But I think specifically a lot more cishet women are like, wait a minute, how do I not give something up during sex?
Right.
Emotionally, how do I not like? Why is it always this experience of like extreme excavation or like I lose something?
Sure.
And I think, ladies, pegging is the answer. That's how you don't lose something. But seriously.
But also like talk to your partner.
And also power.
Just like talk to your partner about sharing the power.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And it should be fun. I'm also just so intrigued. If you are a heterosexual woman, heterosexual man watching this and you're like, I don't know, guys, I have thoughts.
Yeah,
put them in the
comment.
comments. We want to know.
Please comment. We do.
I think, the idea behind the show very much is that my name is Aria, that's Sid. We are two individuals who have our own opinions and our own experiences, but we don't speak for any community in totality in any way.
And our intersections are very, very specific.
Right.
So I do think for me, I find deep power in, like I said, lying on my back and being like Queen of Sheba, Cleopatra vibes, being like, go to work. But and I just want to touch on something. Interestingly enough, I found Cara Delevingne wore that vest to the Met Gala that said "Peg the patriarchy."
Yeah.
There is something that misses the mark about that because pegging isn't. I think there's a lot of conversation around this too. The idea that pegging the patriarchy, I think a lot of people took that to mean peg as a part of dismantling. Peg as like a punishment as opposed to let's dismantle, let's change up the roles, let's subvert. And I think a lot of people heard that as men need to be fucked.
Mm.
And I'm curious to know your thoughts on that. What do you envision when you see the phrase "peg the patriarchy"? Knowing what you know now about pegging.
Yeah, I definitely think pegging is a moment of feminism.
Sure.
I think that it is a very interesting moment in whatever wave of feminism that we're in. Third wave? Fourth wave? Peg wave?
It depends on who you talk to.
I don't actually really
We're in the third wave of white feminism. Continue.
Right. I don't actually love the correlation between sexual exploration and sexual identity and like societal issues like patriarchy. That instinctively, I just feel like, wait, but like that's pleasure and that's pain.
Exactly how I feel.
You're like you've brought two things together that are sort of very dissonant to me.
Right, and now you're saying, yeah.
And but at the same time, I can zoom away and I can think about it from a 30,000 feet angle and be like, I see what you're doing. I see what you're getting at. I don't think you're inherently wrong. Just not my favorite choice of words. But I do think that pegging and everything that we're talking about in this conversation is a feminist approach and a feminist ideology. And it's not particularly like abolitionist, but like is a very interesting space to inhabit and a way forward that I think is really exciting because even if you're not into pegging, I think that the ideas of it and the ideas that it encompasses and what it can offer you, whether you do it or not, just intellectually, I think are feminist and I think are exciting. And I think it's almost worth having the conversation with your partner just to sort of see what comes of
like
it.
even if you never do it, like talk about it.
Yeah. Because you'll learn something about yourself inherently.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll also learn something about your partner. And that's all you can ask for. I mean, that's what we're here to do.
Right. And I think that the other part of the discussion is that you can find power in, I think sex is power, and it doesn't matter. I mean, whether you're having it, whether you're not having it, there's power in every single aspect. There are power dynamics, in every single aspect of sex and sexuality. And I think what I love about pegging and what I love about the discussions that we're going to have are going to be discussing, we're going to be discussing subverting those. We're going to be discussing like where the power lies and where the holes in communication lie and what the necessity is to just continue to talk about it. Like that's the most powerful thing of all, is being able to communicate around it.
I really, really thought you were going to say it, and to fill those holes.
Fill those holes.
So with that in mind, I think we should ask openly to our audience, if you've got stuff you want us to talk about, put those in the comments. You can find us on all of our socials.
Yes.
You can DM us if you want to do it privately.
Yeah.
This is a space in which we will embrace you, and we will talk about what you want to talk about.
We will never use names. We will be as anonymous as possible, so anything goes, for real, for real. Thank you for sharing your sexcapade with me.
Of course.
I really appreciate you.
I'm excited about what this space is going to bring into our lives.
Me too.
Yeah. So for Erupt, that's Sid. I'm Aria. You've been with Nocturnal Eruptions.
And please go get laid.